Lore-Stormside, Episode 15. The bird couldn't fly inside the cloud and started to dip the moment we broke through. We hit the ground hard and skidded to a soft stop. The cloud was hollow, just like Pavidale. I doubted this place had a nice name, or any name at all. It was empty and sad. The ground was covered with a layer of rocks, and I noticed there were some pretty serious sized holes everywhere. I imagined cloud like this could be home to some nasty creatures, but thankfully none were there to greet us. It's a rile, said Deli as she hopped down. It's too strong for the bed to work in here. I was surprised that I could see fairly well. The whole place was lit by a dim red light coming from another small pond, just like in Pavidale. But this pond looked gloomy and mean. Without saying it, we all sensed it was probably best to whisper. How do we get out of here? Can we push the bed back out? I asked. It would just suck us right back in, Dally said. We'll need to carry the bed across to the other side. You're crazy, Zoe said angrily, but still whispering. This looks like the place from my nightmares, and they never end well. What do you suggest we do then? She asked coolly. Call up the fairies and get them to pick us up with a new bed. A king-size one, this time. I'll wait here, Zoe said as he sat cross-legged and cross-armed. That's not going to happen, Zoe. There's no way to reach them from in here, she replied. Well, too bad, because I'm not moving. I'm pretty positive that these holes are filled with monsters, Zoe responded. And you're going to get gobbled up. Gobbled. Right up. Will you talk to him, please? Deli said, turning to me. Zoe was pretending to chew while he stared at Deli. Nom, 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 was all he could say. I sat down next to him. Zoe, I know this isn't exactly what you signed up for. He nodded empathetically. But you're my best friend, and I need you. And those fairies need you even more than I do, I pleaded. Zoe wasn't moved. He replied, If you walk across this cloud, you're going to get eaten by the green hog monster things in those holes. And I'm not going to watch it happen. I understood now that he wasn't just angry. He was worried. Worried for me. But my mind was racing from what I just heard. So how do you know what's in those holes? I asked. I told you, this place is always like the one from my nightmare. And I always get eaten, he whimpered. I looked at Deli and knew that she had heard the same. So you're here to save us, I said. What? He asked. There's a reason you had those dreams, Soy. Just like there's a reason why my bed can fly. You were meant to be my guide. You heard the words inside the book of law. What I'm going to say is that you got gobbled up in those nightmares so that we wouldn't get gobbled up in real life. You are the only one who can get us through this cloud, I told him. He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, I repeated, the only one. He sat there for a moment, staring at the ground. Then he looked back towards the cloud wall that we just passed through. Finally, he let out a big sigh and rose to his feet. Right, he said. Cal, grab the other side of the mattress. The both of you, get behind me. We need to move quickly. I think I may have found out the way out last time. Got it, Zoe. I trust you, I told him. So do I, said Deli. She jumped on the bed as we lifted it up. It wasn't heavy, but it wasn't light. From where we stood, the far end of the cloud looked at least 2 football fields away. But it was hard to tell. I started to notice that the holes weren't the only obstacles in our way. There were bumps in the ground that looked like small hills, and some tall, scraggly looking trees. It took Zoe and me a minute to get our steps in sync, but once we did, we moved well together. Zoe weaved the bed in between the holes deftly, and periodically stopped to change course. He had made it clear that under no circumstances should we make noise. Apparently, in his dream, making too much noise tended to get him eaten. A lot. At that moment, in the dark clouds filled with vile, with monsters sleeping below our feet, Sawyer was leading us, and he was doing it well. We made it about halfway through without any trouble. But then Sawyer looked stuck. There were 3 large holes in front of us, and a few trees to our right. I spoke softly. What is it? I asked. I've seen these holes before, he whispered back, and I've never gotten past them. There are hog monsters in each one. The middle one has the biggest. He turned to face me. He's bigger than a truck and the scariest monster in here. I call him Hampton. My mum said that I might be less frightened if I named him. Did it work? Daddy whispered. No, now he's just a soy-eating truck-sized monster. And also, his name is Hampton. Daddy and I sat patiently while Soy planned our next move. A few minutes later, Soy was ready. He took a breath and motioned for me to turn the bed on its side. We followed him as he led us to the skinny trees. Squeezing between them, Soy and I were careful not to touch a single branch. I looked closely at the lowest branch and realized the true danger. What I thought was a leaf wasn't a leaf at all. It was a sleeping animal. It had long claws that wrapped around the branch 3 times, and its wings came together to form a flat surface that made it resemble a humongous leaf. It wasn't just this one creature that worried me really, it was the 500 more that were sleeping above it. Once we passed through trees, we came to a low rocky hill. It was steep enough to make me tired, and so I was getting winded too. When we got to the top, we had no choice but to rest for a minute. At the far foot of the hill were 2 more trees, larger than the batch we had just passed. It would be difficult, but we could make our way through them and avoid the nearby holes if we took our time. So we lay down on the bed, while Stelly took a moment to take stock of how much ground we had covered. I was the only one looking forward, so I was the first to see the light. It wasn't like any other light inside the cloud. It was a dull yellow glow coming from inside one of the two holes at the bottom of the hill. But I knew that it wasn't actually yellow. It was stone gold. Thanks for watching this episode. This series is still to be continued. I hope you've watched my other videos, and if you haven't, make sure to check them out right now. The links should be in the description down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Goodbye, and I hope to see you in our next video.